classic story of new does not always constitute better, especially if new means you're going to spend over 200 million in taxpayer money to produce a system in which the old ISIS mainframe can spit out better answers in less than half the time. Services Australia was like, hey, we need to modernize. We have this big old chunky, stinky 30-year-old mainframe system, and we want something that's new and sleek and faster. So they hired Infosys to build them a Pega-based entitlement calculation engine. There's lots to this story and some hot gossip, so buckle up. The whole saga starts in 2019, where Services Australia signs a deed of standing offer with Infosys to deliver this shiny new ECE platform that's going to help with their welfare payment infrastructure transformation. They beat out IBM and Accenture to win the deal. How did they win this, you ask? Well, word on the street is that Infosys executives were meeting with the Governance Services Minister, and if I say this wrong, I'm American, I'm sorry, I don't know what you want me to do, Stuart Robert, on over a dozen occasions that later would be cited for a lot of political scrutiny on how this deal was shaped. 2020 comes around, phase one, which is a proof of design concept, is started. And that is about $23 million that's allocated for this. Phase two has a bit more because it's building and implementation and requires a multi-year funding envelope. During this time, there's a bunch of government speeches and fancy documents that really frame this new platform as the heart of the digital age of welfare. In October of 2021, they even were at Gartner's IT Symposium, and Service Australia was talking about how Infosys has proven this works, claims more than 12,000 rules have already been implemented on the new Pega platform, outlining that more than half of all of these payments will be live by mid-2022. Services Academy is set up to train all of their staff in Pega, really signaling that long-term commitment, like we're doing it. And then all of a sudden, about 2 years in the build, a local option comes up. And you know, Australians, they love to keep it on the island, which I don't even blame them, called SecureFast. And they do a detailed proof of concept with this Australian company to look at alternative entitlements platforms. Internal reports find that, hey, SecureFast is pretty good, right? It can handle these highly complex customer scenarios we gave it with strong performance, and they recommended the same sort of shadow mode, and I'll explain more on that later, comparison approach that Infosys then later used. Despite them being a viable option, they chose not to move forward with them and really leaned into Infosys as the primary solution. By 2022, we're starting to see a little bit of cracks, but Infosys is still getting paid their money, right? So they've already been paid since the project started, right? $135 million for the ECE work. Even after that SecureFast evaluation, Service Australia pays them an additional $50 million rather than shifting any sort of investments to a local platform. And then as of mid-2022, they talk about like, this is almost done. This is on the finish line. We're about there. Yet we haven't seen any deliveries yet. By late 2022, they're like, well, I guess we have to turn it on because we told everyone that we were. So the Pega-based ECE is turned on and deployed into production in October of 2022. In November of 2022, they immediately switch it into shadow mode, which basically means that the new system is running quietly in the background at the same time they're using the old one, which is still really in charge and verifying all of the output of the new system. The goal here is you eventually switch that old system off. That unfortunately will not be happening in this scenario. By early 2023, the new engine had only gotten to quietly double check, not even fully process, 784 pension claims in the background for one very narrow payment scenario before they killed it. For context, that's like building a whole new airport runway and letting like a few tiny planes taxi around it before you completely rip it up. So the Senate obviously investigated because, you just don't spend 200 million and be like, oh, well, that was fun, right? They went and looked at it and said, hey, this engine is completely slow and defect ridden. And oh, by the way, why does the ISIS mainframe deliver results in 2 seconds when this takes minutes and really struggles to integrate or even play nice with ISIS and with SAP, which is their main transactional chain. They also say that like, hey, if we were going to fix this, it's going to take a massive amount of extra funding, time, and many, many years to extend it across all welfare payment platforms. Finally, in July of 2023, Minister Bill Shorten announced that the government had completely written off this ECE as an asset after spending 191 million, saying that there's absolutely nothing to show for this in terms of a functioning platform. We see this happen all the time. I actually just had this happen to a client not too long ago, where we see, a viable local option become available that seems like a better partner. And I wasn't a part of this, so I have no idea if Secure Fast was a better partner, but from a paper, they certainly sound like it. And the meetings between Infosys and Stuart Robert, which was a high-level government official at the time, really fed into that rumor mill of like, hey, what about these multinational vendors? All of this behind doors lobbying, and we're sidelining our local tech to spend, multi-millions of dollars of taxpayer money, especially in welfare, to take care of our citizens. That essentially was just, thrown off the roof of the government. Moral of the story is a couple of different things, right? Working with a vendor that's local that actually wants your business and can produce good functionality is always the best way to go, right? When we're having these backdoor conversations and not involving end users, it's never going to go well. You're going to spend a ton of money and create a bunch of disruption in your private sector or public sector business. And then last, but certainly not least, modernization doesn't always mean shiny new systems, right? If you go to the big consulting industrial complex, of course they're going to convince you that, right? Especially if they're taking you to the Australian Open or whatever's going on down there, right? But that does not always mean that you're going to have a better system. Sometimes your legacy tech just needs a refresh, or you need new licenses, or you can get by with what you have, and modernization should go into other areas of making you a better, healthier business.